I am the press secretary, the Department of Community and Economic Development. Earlier today, Secretary Walker, under the direction of Governor Corbett, filed a petition with the Commonwealth Court to appoint Major General William B. Lynch as the receiver for the distressed city of Harrisburg. The governor is authorized by the provisions of Act 47 to direct the DCED secretary to file a petition in court to appoint a receiver when the petition becomes vacant. The former receiver of the city of Harrisburg, David Unkovic, submitted his resignation to the Commonwealth Court on March 30th. During that time, the governor interviewed several candidates for the position, and yesterday, General Lynch accepted the position to serve as the receiver of the city of Harrisburg. General Lynch is a true leader in every sense of the word, serving both his country and state for more than 40 years. In 2004, General Lynch completed a distinguished 40-year military career in command positions. He was Adjutant General of Pennsylvania under 3 governors, where he led a department with a $550 million budget and 22,000 employees. The general served as chairman of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Council at the request of Governor Mark Schweiker following the events of September 11th. He also served as the director of the National Guard Bureau's Air Operations Division, where he was responsible for the operational tasking of all 91 flying and 244 support units of the Air National Guard in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. From 2006 to 2007, General Lynch served as Chief of Staff to the U.S. State Department Office of Iraqi Reconstruction Management in Baghdad, which transitioned into the Iraq Transition Assistance Office in 2007. These offices were responsible for facilitating Iraq's transition to self-sufficiency and to maintain an effective diplomatic presence in Iraq. The organization also oversaw the distribution of the remaining $3 billion of the Iraq Relief and Reconstruction Fund. This fund was originally allocated more than $18 billion by the United States Congress in 2003 to rebuild Iraq's infrastructure. He returned to Baghdad again in 2008 to 2009 as director of the embassy's Office of Joint Strategic Plans and Assessment, where he reported directly to the ambassador and served as his liaison to the multinational force Iraq. This office developed a joint campaign plan that laid out the lines of effort that guided the joint military-civilian activities in Iraq. General Lynch is currently a senior associate of C2 Associates, Business Strategy and Development, LLC. The firm performs business development services, including strategic planning and processing, market entry tactics, and government agency and private sector interoperability. And now, General Lynch will lead the recovery effort to bring long-term fiscal stability to the city of Harrisburg. Now, before I ask the General to come up and say a few words, I would just like to remind everyone that he was just nominated today, and he may not be able to answer specific questions that you have until he's confirmed by the court and has had the opportunity to be fully briefed and brought up to speed. However, I will be available afterwards to address any process questions that you may have. General?
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for being here today. As you heard from Steve, I've had the distinct honor of serving our country in combat in Vietnam and as a director of military operations, and more recently as a planner and strategist helping to rebuild a self-sufficient Iraq. I'm proud now to have this opportunity to serve the Commonwealth and our capital city, a mission that I intend to undertake with utmost determination. I will work quickly with DCED, McKenna Long and Aldridge, and others to get fully up to speed on the complex issues that the city faces. The measures within the approved recovery plan and that will take place to address these issues in the future. I will also work with our team to identify the items that have yet to be addressed and to evaluate actions that are necessary to get our capital city back on track. Throughout my entire career in the military and in the private sector, I've tackled tough challenges and led diverse groups of people to common solutions. None of those challenges were easy, but when you pull together a sound strategy and develop a good plan and are committed to implementing that plan, you can overcome most challenges and succeed. I look forward to working with the mayor, the city council, and all those involved in this process to continue moving Harrisburg forward to fiscal recovery and sustainability. Together, we can create a stable and successful community, not only for the people of Harrisburg, but for all of us who are citizens of the Commonwealth. At this time, I'll take your questions, but since I don't know most of you, I would appreciate it if you identify yourself. And thanks again for being here. Yes, sir.
Eric Veronicus from the Harrisburg Patriot News. David Unkovic, the last receiver, he seemed to have left under certain distress. He said in his resignation letter to the Commonwealth Court that political and ethical crosswinds prevented him from developing a fair plan for the city. Do you believe that Unkovic should come forward and tell the Commonwealth Court what those problems were in order for you to move forward?
Out of respect for the court, I will reserve judgment and comment on that until after I've been appointed. Yes.
Chris Papp, CBS 21 News. Have you had any discussions with David Unkovic to find out why exactly he left so you can avoid a similar circumstance?
No, I have not. However, I would be happy to speak with Mr. Unkovic at some time in the future.
Do you plan on making that happen soon?
Frankly, I haven't sorted that out. I've been in, what did you say, Chris, 3 hours in the nominated, so yeah, I will get to that in the future. I will be happy to speak with anyone that can help with this process. Yes, ma'am.
Portia Johnson with WGAL. Do you have any knowledge or expertise in dealing with municipalities under Act 47 or in a situation like Harrisburg, a situation of this magnitude?
Specifically, Act 47, no. However, I have been in situations like this with large budgets and diverse groups of people, and I think that that's what my experience lends itself to. We were in Iraq, for example. We had all kinds of parties interested in the outcome, to include our own military, various sections of the Department of State, the Iraqis, various factions there. And the secret to that seems to be bringing diverse groups together and coming up with a solution. Now, understanding what I've just said, there's also a point where someone has to make a decision. And I've also been in that position. Yes, sir.
Mark Shade with Reuters. Last week, the governor indicated that he was finding it really difficult to find Unkovic's replacement. Why? Why are you taking it?
That's a good question. I'm taking it because I guess I'm a bit of a sucker for a challenge. I'm taking it because I've been back from Iraq a couple of years now, and this seems to be something that needs to be done. It seems to be something that can be done, particularly by someone who doesn't bring a lot of preconceived notions to the issue. Yes, sir.
Who approached you? Did the governor approach you, or did you contact him to take the job?
Members of the governor's staff approached me to see if I would be interested. Yes, sir.
Harrisburg is in a pretty unique situation with the relationship between the mayor, the city council, the controller, the incinerator, parking garages, and where it is right now. Are you yet, I know you just took the job, but before you took it, did you familiarize yourself with what this city's been going through over the past 2 years?
A little bit is the right answer, and I was chuckling to myself because it was easy. Anybody could do it. And yeah, I have a layman's surface understanding, if you will, and I have already got a bushel basket full of stuff to read, and over the next week or so we'll be getting more in depth on that.
Yeah. When you look at the number of people who have kind of tried and failed to get a grip on the problem, is there one thing about you that you think makes you uniquely qualified?
I think that the problem seems to be defining where we're going with this, listening to as many people as possible, and understanding what everyone has in common. And I believe what we all have in common is the interest of this capital city. And I think at the end of the day that we'll be able to bring that forward and move to a solution. Again, at some point, decisions have to be made.
Major General. First of all, my name is Dave Marcheski with ABC 27 News. First of all, welcome to your new position here. I think a lot of the residents here in Harrisburg, they might be hesitant to kind of see what you're all about. Obviously, with Uncle Vic leaving, the city itself, the administration has kind of had a revolving door to people leaving that administration. So what can you do to kind of affirm your position that you're here for the long haul? I mean, are you prepared to be here for a long term?
I'm here for as long as it takes, and I don't know how long that will be. As far as the city government, quite frankly, I'd prefer to leave that to city officials, and you know, that's way outside my charter as far as I can tell. But what I intend to do is to try to focus us, all the people that have an interest in this, the mayor, the city council, and any others, on where we're going to solve this particular problem. And I think bringing that focus to this is probably my chief attribute.
Obviously, Uncle Vic also cited political and ethical crosswinds to his departure. I mean, how can your military experience go towards fighting through all that chaos?
Well, I'm pretty apolitical. I think Steve said I served 3 governors in a cabinet position of different parties, which is somewhat unusual. I am not part of the Harrisburg political issues because I am geographically separated. So I think that'll be okay.
Have you made campaign donations to any recent parties?
No, I made a couple of $100 to the Corbett campaign back in when the governor was running for attorney general, but nothing since.
James Roxbury with Roxbury News. First off, what should we refer to you as? General, receiver, Mr. Lynch?
Excellency has a nice ring. No. Please, I'm very informal. The general is not necessary. Bill is fine with me.
Senator Piccola criticized Receiver Uncle Vic for meeting with members of the public and holding forums and going to community groups. What is your plan of approach to engage the local community of Harrisburg?
I have not got that sorted out yet. My intention is to meet with people who are interested in this problem, and I would like to, if possible, simplify Act 47 and the process so that people understand more, have a more basic understanding of what we're trying to accomplish.
And have you met with Mayor Thompson yet?
I have not.
Do you plan on doing so today or?
Probably not today. I spoke with her briefly earlier today so that she wouldn't be surprised by this announcement, but that's the extent of that conversation.
What was her reaction?
She thought it was great. I'm just kidding. She was very cordial on the phone. We had a nice, albeit brief conversation.
Mayor Thompson and City Council seem to be constantly at odds, especially over the recovery plan. Can you talk about your approach to that, how you're going to approach that situation and deal with those two sides?
Yeah, and I'm sure that, and I know very little about those conflicts or that conflict. I'm sure, however, that anybody in one of those positions, each person in one of those positions, has at the bottom the best interests of the city of Harrisburg at heart, and I will work very hard to make that common interest something that we can all talk about and get behind to facilitate an outcome that's good for the city and good for everyone that lives here. And for that matter, good for everybody in the Commonwealth. This is our capital city, not just people that live here, it's everybody's. That's right.
I know, I guess today is your first day on the job, or when is your first day?
Since
on
about
the job?
1 o'clock. Well, actually, I'm at this point, I'm nominated, but not yet appointed, and the judge will make that appointment. So.
What is your first plan of action? What do you plan to do first to move the process forward if you are approved?
I plan first to sort through the very complicated stack of papers that I have and develop in my own mind a basic understanding of what's gone forward so far and what the plan that has been approved is and what modifications, amendments, tweaks need to be made to that plan. And by the way, one of the things that has impressed me a great deal is the group of people who are dedicated to this effort. Department of Community and Economic Affairs, the law firms, a great amount of intellectual capital and a great amount of dedication to this problem. So I have all of that kind of backing that I feel is, and I will definitely need it, but my first effort will be to absorb as much of that as possible. Yes, sir.
Upon first blush at looking at your resume, the city controller was concerned over the fact that you don't have a accounting background, a municipal finance background. What would you say to him to try to...
I'd say he's right. I have, however, a fair amount of experience in handling large budgets, supervising people that make up those budgets, making decisions where necessary about where our allocations of budgetary resources should go. And quite frankly, I think that that's what's needed here now.
General Mark Levy from the Associated Press. Do you live in Dauphin County?
I do not.
Do you live in the city of Harrisburg?
No.
Where do you live?
Hazleton.
Other questions, guys?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, has it crossed your mind that this could be like Iraq or?
I don't think I'd want to say that in public. No, and you know, it's hard to say that without chuckling. But the fact is, many of the problems, and now I'm talking about the people problems, dealing with people who have, I'll say special interests for lack of a better word, but have skin in the game somehow, is not unusual, whether it's here or at the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs or the National Guard Bureau in Washington, D.C., or even in the unit I commanded in Pittsburgh. You would have the airplane guys somehow at odds with the maintenance guys over who should get the money. And those kinds of things, I think, are fairly common, and I think it's something we can work through.
The big problem here is there is no money to be shared.
Yeah, that's true, and that's also part of the deal in any of those organizations is what do you do about your budget? Where do you get the resources? How do you go about that? And that's something that I have to learn from all the work the good work, by the way, that's been done already.
The previous receiver, David Unkovic, he had what a lot of people would call conflicts of interest with certain bondholders and other entities financially involved with Harrisburg. As of now, do you know of any conflicts of interest that you have with any of the parties involved?
No.
Last question.
David Unkovic set up a pretty stringent time frame with the sale of the assets. He had a target date of May 15th to enter into contracts and June 15th to actually execute on those contracts. Now that we're in this delay situation, DCED Secretary Walker has asked the court to come with a 15-day time period just to nominate or appoint you in your position, but you're outside Unkovic's timeline. How is that going to affect the asset sale, or are you concerned about the time frame?
I am not. And again, I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on nuts and bolts until the judge has had a chance to rule on my application or my nomination. And I am more interested in doing it correctly than doing it quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.